I mean, it's probably, it harkens back to my childhood, but I really love fluff.
Oh, I was having to describe to my daughter what a fluffernutter was.
Wait a second. Your daughter is 12 years old?
11,
and she's
yeah,
never
no
had a fluffernutter
yet.
sandwich?
Failing.
I'm sorry. Failing as a
what
parent.
What are you doing?
No,
I'm failing. Hi, I'm Julia Collin Davison.
And I'm Keith Dresser.
And this is Ask the Test Kitchen. Now today we asked you to send in your worst culinary fails. You know, the things you're really embarrassed that you did.
Yeah, we all have them. I'm going to admit I've had quite a few recently. But so today, recently, yeah. Well, you know, we're not all perfect here. So we're gonna jump right in. I'm gonna jump right in, and I'm gonna shoot the first question to Julia here. Okay. Do you want a difficult one or an easy one?
Let's give me a softball. Give me an easy one.
You want a softball? Okay. All right. Let's see. This is a good one. I can never seem to get a beautiful crust on my cast iron steak. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah, what are you doing wrong? Cast iron basics. So you need a good steak. You know, get a nice thick steak. That way you can sear it for longer without it overcooking. So make sure your steak's at least an inch thick, right? Inch and a quarter. If you can swing an inch and a quarter, it's even better. Heat your skillet up in the oven because cast iron notoriously heats unevenly, but it does retain its heat. So if you heat it up in the oven, 500-degree oven for like 15-20 minutes, the whole skillet will get hot and that'll give you an even sear. And then the last trick is the flip, right? It's almost like in the 70s when we used to sunbathe and used to flip over your body every 10 minutes to get an even tan. It's the same thing for a steak in a skillet. You cook it for a couple minutes on one side and then you flip it over and that'll give you a nice even browning on both sides. Yeah. You got anything to add there, Keith?
No, I think you hit all the things that I would hit. You know, flipping it repeatedly, you know, like every 2 minutes, you know, you'll even out that cook on that. And maybe the first couple of flips, it might not look like it's brown, but over time you'll build up the browning on that steak and it should be perfect and you'll have kind of an even cook all the way around the steak. So I think you nailed it.
Awesome. All right. Now I have a question for you that, because based on what you said at the beginning, that you had a lot of, you screwed up a lot recently. What did you screw up recently?
So I've been making a lot of pizza. You know, we have a great thin crust pizza dough that is excellent. And I find that whether I'm mismeasuring things or not paying close attention, you know, sometimes the dough will come out too tough or too loose. You know, sometimes I'll tear it. So, you know, I feel like, you know, with cooking, you're always going to have mistakes no matter how good you are. And I think what is valuable is how you kind of recover from those mistakes in the kitchen. So, you know, pinching the dough back.
Bad pizza is good in my world.
Well, yeah, so. Well, that's certainly the case with pizza. But yeah, you know, learning how to pinch the dough back together, or you know, waiting, you know, to stretch the dough out. You know, if it's shrinking back. But you know, we all make mistakes. You know, some big, some small, and you know, recovering from them is the sign of a good cook, I think.
Yep. You're right. I've been setting the fire alarm, smoke alarm off a lot in my house. Like every day.
Every day.
Every day. And yeah, I saw this meme, and it was like someone yelling at their smoke alarm, going, "Why don't they make it so it'll just turn off if you yell at it? I'm cooking."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And why did they put a smoke alarm so close to your kitchen in the first place?
Right.
Yeah. Bad house design.
Yeah, bad house design. I agree.
Yeah, all
right, here's one. Here's another one for you. Ooh, this is a good one.
Uh-oh.
This is about onions.
Okay.
I have a fussy onion eater in my house, not for the flavor but for the texture. And so this is Zenarg. How can you blend onions into a dish? My husband hates them, but I find they're important for flavor?
Oh, that's a great question. One thing I would try doing is if you want onions in there, but you want to, kind of get rid of their texture, you can add a little pinch of baking soda if you're sweating onions, to make a soup or a sauce or something like that, and that will help break down the onions almost to nothing. So you'll have the flavor in there, but you might not have the texture. I mean, could you use shallots? Is it a flavor thing? Yeah, cook them out longer.
And cut them smaller.
Yeah, certainly cut them smaller. That's always a good practice thing to work on is your onion mincing skills, is how fine you can get an onion. But yeah, I wouldn't omit them. Unfortunately for your husband, he's going to have to deal with the onions because they're such a building block of flavor. But yeah, I think couple things.
That baking soda trick is amazing. I remember we did that in the newer Sloppy Joe recipe.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Because nobody wanted pieces of onion in their Sloppy Joes, even people who like onions.
Yeah.
They really wanted that to disappear, and so that you just got the texture of the meat. I remember that was a great trick, and it doesn't within 5 minutes. It's like a pinch, saute the onions 5 minutes, and they really broke down.
Yeah, it's almost instantaneous. I mean, there is a warning with that. It does turn the color a little bit orangey, so don't be surprised if they turn color. But we've done it before with risotto and cooking fennel in risotto too. So there are some fun applications that you can kind of get into there if you don't want the texture of a vegetable in a soup or a sauce or a sloppy joes.
Awesome.
Okay, you ready for
Good
one?
Tip. Yeah, hit me.
Hit ya. All right. So cultured butter in place of regular butter for baking, yay or nay? This is from China Bina.
Wow. Well, there are a number of huge cultured butter fans at ATK for sure, and people make their own cultured butter. I'm not. Are you a huge fan of cultured butter, Keith? I'm not. Actually,
I mean, I guess I like it on like toast in the morning, like a good baguette with some cultured butter on it. I like that tang, that funk. But I'm not sure if I would want to bake a cake with it or really bake with it. I think, maybe if you were making biscuits where you didn't have a lot of competing flavors, it might be good. But I don't know. If you like the flavor,
tang.
Yeah. If you had that tang,
would be good in a biscuit.
Yeah. Something clean.
Also,
but I don't know if I would want it with something sweet. But that's me.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. But from a sort of a standpoint of recipe success, cultured butter, does it have less moisture in it than butter? And so would you have to make some amends that way, depending on how much butter was going into the baked good? I think.
Yeah, maybe. You figure, normal butters are what, 82% fat, and maybe cultured butters are a little higher. I can't imagine that would be that significant of a change in fat where you'd have to add more moisture or get rid of more moisture.
Right.
It's also more expensive too. So I don't know if you would want to be using, 8 tablespoons of cultured butter. But I think, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but you'd have to anticipate the flavor of whatever you're baking to be different.
Yep, I agree. All right. Here, I got one for you.
Okay.
Meatloaf. Keith, are you a meatloaf? Do you make meatloaf a lot? We eat meatloaf like once or twice a month here.
Oh, you do?
I love the leftovers.
I
love meatloaf sandwiches.
Okay, I like meatloaf, but it's funny that it's not something that I make that often. But I don't know why. I mean, I love it. We have a lot of great recipes, but it's not something that I make often.
Yeah. Well, so this is a meatloaf question.
Okay.
My meatloaf tastes great. Okay, so the flavor's there, but it's crumbly and not a loaf. I use egg, breadcrumbs, oats or milk. Looks like they're looking for sort of binders and things to add moisture.
Yeah.
And I know our recipes pretty well. They all use a panade.
Yeah, they all use a panade, and that's kind of a key to keeping things moist, because you're cooking ground beef above 160. You know, you're getting above 160. You're squeezing out moisture. So the added panade, which is a combination of moisture, whether it's chicken stock or milk, and usually bread, that will help to retain moisture. I guess it's possible to have too much panade. So when that's baking, it's not forming a loaf. The proteins aren't kind of coming together to form a loaf, and it could break apart. Like you're adding too much panade. I mean, the same thing with oats. I would think if you added too many oats, if you had too much of a binder, it might have a problem coming together. I mean, is that a problem that you have with meatloaf?
No, but two things, because I follow our recipe. Our recipe, I like our original recipe that dates back from like the late 90s. The original ATK is still my favorite. You know, the glaze on top is a little
brown sugar and ketchup.
And a little brown sugar and vinegar. I was just going to look up the recipe to see what we temp it out to, because part of me thinks, well, two things. You make a panade, and a panade, again, is bread or panko crumbs mixed with milk or broth, usually milk, which this person says they use. But you have to mix that ahead of time before you mix it into the meat, so that panade really works. So you can't just add them separately. That's one thing. The other thing is, I think maybe just being overcooked.
That could be the case, too.
And so let's look at what we temp at. We temp at 160.
Which makes sense, right?
For meatloaf.
Yeah.
Yep, that makes total sense. Yeah. And so if you go over that, it's going to be really crumbly and not hold a loaf shape. So I'm thinking that's probably what that is.
All right.
All right, for you, let's see. Do you make carbonara, Keith?
I do. I make the ATK version of carbonara, which is really quite nice.
The old one or the new one?
The new one, where we use we cook the pasta in a small amount of water to get that starchy water to kind of hold that together. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this person has a carbonara question. It's Heath the Rock. Heath the Rock?
Yeah. Those Instagram nicknames are so hard, aren't they?
I know. So the question is how to keep the eggs from curdling in carbonara.
Yeah, I mean, like with any time that you're using eggs, is that you want to protect the proteins in the eggs from binding together too much. Like I alluded to a minute ago, is that we use we cook the pasta in a small amount of water. So we're using 2 quarts instead of 4 quarts, and so you get that really starchy liquid. So if you're working that into the eggs, you kind of you protect the eggs from binding up, essentially becoming scrambled eggs. So if you offer protection to keep them from binding together, they won't curdle. And you can add, starchy water. You can add more fat. You can use oil. You can use the fat from guanciale or pancetta, whatever you're using to make carbonara. So it's really all about protecting and keeping those eggs from binding too tightly.
Yeah, and you can't let it sit, right?
No, that like with any pasta, that's going to sit up and become a big mass, and it's even more difficult with carbonara because you have the eggs that are cooling down, you have the fat that's cooling down. So yeah, carbonara is one of the things where you want your family at the table, get it on the table and eat it right away. So.
Do you do the warm bowl trick with the hot water
Yeah,
and warm bowls?
So that's a perfect thing.
Do you?
Yeah. So you drain the pasta, rather than draining the pasta in the colander into your sink and losing all that liquid, you drain it into a large bowl. That warms your serving bowl up. You take the water out of that, use it to make the sauce, and then you have that warm bowl right there. So yeah, it's one of those quick things it's so easy and so satisfying. It's a great recipe.
Yeah, it's like 5-6 ingredients. It's not a lot.
No, it's not.
Which means there's no way to hide any mistakes, right?
Exactly. That's why you want to follow our recipe.
Yeah. All right. Let's see.
Okay, I have this. This is a funny question. So this is from Demangelo21. Could you turn canned meat into a gourmet meal?
That's a mystery basket question right there. So
what
let's
kind
talk
of
about
canned
what
meat?
canned meat is. You got Spam,
Yeah.
right? And there's a number. I mean, there's so many videos out there of people playing with Spam.
Yeah.
So I feel like you could probably do it with Spam. My husband bought some like a year ago because he has these fond memories when he lived in Wales of fried Spam, you know, as part of breakfast.
Yeah.
But I tried it. It was like a salt lick. It was so salty.
Yes, it is salty.
That I was like, oh, you can't really eat this straight. You really got to mix it with stuff.
Yeah.
So there's Spam, which I think you could do. There's canned ham, like Danish ham. That would be easy.
Yeah.
And then there's the little, what are the little Vienna sausages?
Oh, Vienna sausages, right? The little
Vienna sausages.
Yeah.
Totally could do something gourmet with that. Yeah. And the seafood wasn't mentioned, but I think about canned seafood like tuna and salmon, and I'm not a big fan of the canned salmon. I've tried it because it seems like it would be great, but there's just too many skin and bones in that canned salmon for me. But I actually think that is a good challenge for you, Keith. Come up with a gourmet meal using Vienna sausages and Spam.
Wow. Okay.
The gauntlet has been thrown.
Now, I will do that, but I am going to admit a food phobia that I have, and is that I don't like canned tuna fish. And I think that at work it's pretty well known that I have an aversion to canned tuna. So I will take the challenge for Spam and Vienna sausage, but I'm not going to do canned tuna. Okay, I'm just telling you right now.
Oh, I love tuna fish.
Yes.
I have tuna fish several times a week. I
Oh,
like
do
it
you
in
really?
the morning. I like it for breakfast. Yeah, I like
how do you
tuna
like-
fish. I like
how?
tuna fish on toast with coffee. It's so
Really?
old school, like
Wow.
dry toast. Yes.
That-
I remember I was talking to someone about healthy breakfast, and they're like, "You like non-traditional breakfasts," and I was like, "That was a nice way to put it." I like weird breakfasts.
That is non-traditional.
Non-traditional.
Without a question. Without a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. One for you. Let's see. Oh, how do you keep your knives? Oh, this is from Peace Love Balance. That's nice.
That's nice.
How do you keep your knives sharp when you don't have the skills to hand sharpen them? I get this question all the time because sharpening your own knives is it takes practice. And the only way to learn, of course, means you're going to dull the knives in the process. So I get it. It's hard.
Over and over. I mean, I know that we are a big fan of, I forget the name of the sharpener, but the mechanical sharpener.
Chef's Choice.
Chef's Choice, thank you very much.
Chef's Choice, yeah.
And I have one too. I mean, to be honest, you know, it takes time and experience to get out a stone like, you know, they did years and years ago. And I don't usually have the time for that. So I have a Chef's Choice, you know, an electric sharpener. You plug it in, you know, you run your knife through, and it stays sharp for a while.
It has like 3 slots.
Yeah,
right?
I use the first 2 slots. I don't usually do the last slot because I think that's kind of more for honing, you know, as you're working along. But I don't think there's anything wrong with them. And now, if you have a super expensive, you know, knife that you've paid, you know, hundreds of dollars for, I think that people are reluctant to use those machines because they do take off some metal. But you know, I don't have expensive knives. I have never found I've never found them necessary. You know, I mean, I think our favorite knife at work is what, $30 or $40, and it holds an edge great.
I'm just looking. I'm sitting next.
Do you have one?
I was sitting next to the knife drawer. I was going to see if I have one. Yeah, I totally have one. My kitchen's tiny. Yeah, it's the Victorinox.
Yeah, Victorinox.
This one.
Yeah.
Stamped. Yeah, stamped blade, so it's not forged. So it costs what, $30, $40?
Yeah,
but because it's a stamped blade, it's really easy to get back here in the tang and sharpen the whole length of the knife.
Yeah. So I mean,
I like this thing. Do you ever have one of these?
No.
Oh, I've had this for like 30 years. It's an AccuSharp.
Okay.
It's got 1 slot.
Yep.
And the slot is at a 20-degree angle. So it works fine for most chef knives.
Okay.
If you have a nice, as you said, like an expensive hand-forged knife or a Japanese knife where the angle would be a little different than 20 degrees, it wouldn't work. But for the most basic paring knives and that chef knife, this is great. I think this is less than $10. And it fits in the drawer with the knife. So, you know, if you're feeling a little dull, I can kind of whip this thing out and just give it a good sharpen. So this is my tool.
Put a quick edge on it. That's smart. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, good. Okay, this is a pretty easy one. This is from Polly Pocket, I'm assuming Florida. What's the best?
Polly Pocket?
Polly Pocket.
That's the name of a doll.
Oh, is it? Hey.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the best temp and
Polly
time to cook bacon to cook bacon in the oven? So oven fried bacon.
Ooh, oven fried bacon, which is the way to go because you can cook the whole package at once.
For sure.
Now, when you do bacon in the oven, Keith, do you put it on parchment paper or do you just slap it on the sheet pan?
I usually put it on parchment just because it makes cleaning up a lot easier, but it's not not necessary. You could also use foil too, but
foil works.
Yep.
So the magic time and temp is 400 degrees for 10 to 15 minutes, rotating it halfway through.
Yeah,
pretty straightforward.
Super easy.
Yeah. Hey, Keith, have you made that candied bacon?
No,
I cut the pieces in half and you put the brown sugar and spices on top.
Yeah.
Game changer.
Yes, yeah. It's meat candy, right?
It's so good, and it says it's like serve 6 to 8. And I'm looking at my husband. I was like, this is supposed to.
This serves 1.
Like we're almost done, and there's just the two of us. All right, Keith. Here's one for you. It's about corn tortillas. How to heat up a corn tortilla correctly. This is from N. Mortensen 96. They say that when they do, they're either too dry or too oily, which I'm struggling with the too dry or too oily part. Dry, I get it if they're old, but oily, sounds like she's putting oil on them or something.
Yeah, I think that some people will essentially fry them in a skillet with a little bit of oil. I tell you, my favorite way I think is super easy, especially if you have a gas stove.
Look, I have tortillas right here.
Oh, you have to. Are you gonna demo it?
I do.
Right now?
And look, I'm sitting down, and I can show you how. I think you're going to say the same thing. Look,
awesome.
Yeah. Burner.
And you put the tortilla right over the burner, right on the grill grate, and I mean, what is it? Maybe 20 or 30 seconds per side.
Yeah.
And then
sometimes
I
it takes
think
a bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how long your burner's been on. But I think one of the key things is that after you warm it up, it's always a good idea to get a tortilla holder. You know, it's pretty much like a baseball mitt.
Look what I have.
Do you have a tortilla warmer too?
Of course I do.
You're magic.
I know.
You have everything.
I like Mexican food. These things are amazing. This isn't even our winning one, but like if you take a tortilla and you heat it up, this one I burned a little bit. This is kind of how I like them, like a little extra charred.
A little charred. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
And then you slide it into the tortilla warmer and then it steams. This thing can hold the warm tortillas for up to an hour.
Yeah, and it will help them, you know, the moisture will kind of collect in there. It will steam, they won't get dry. But, you know, you can also use the microwave. You can wrap them, you know, in a stack of, 4 or 6 and microwave them really quickly. You know, a low oven wrapped in foil works. But I really think that putting them on the stovetop like you did, you get a little bit of char on there. And it just, you know, if you're making tacos, it's the best thing ever, so.
Oh, so I did another demo earlier this morning, and I had this, I actually have this sitting right here. This is my Tacosaurus.
Oh,
it's a taco.
Nice.
It's a taco holder. It holds 2 tacos while you eat it. Definitely one of my favorite gadgets. So, Keith, because I get to see you in your natural environment. You've seen my kitchen behind me. What is in your kitchen that you're kind of embarrassed about? Either like an ingredient that you use a lot, or I don't know, a sheet pan that's beat to heck, or.
I anticipated your question, and I have an ingredient, and I'm not embarrassed by this. I mean, it harkens back to my childhood, but I really love fluff.
Oh, I was having to describe to my daughter what a fluffernutter was.
Wait a second. Your daughter is 12 years old?
11,
and she's
yeah,
never
no
had a fluffernutter sandwich?
Failing.
I'm sorry. Failing as a
what
parent.
What are you doing?
No.
I'm failing.
Fluffernutters are the greatest thing, I think. You know, a good natural peanut butter, a little bit of salty, a little savory,
Yes.
and that really sweet marshmallow fluff. Oh yeah, it's great. But you know, we have it on ice cream. You know, if you're making ice cream sundaes, having a little marshmallow sauce on there. We also make whoopie pies. You know, the chocolate cakes with the kind of vanilla frosting in it. And the recipe we have, and I think the Cook's Country recipe is the one that we use, has marshmallow fluff in the filling. So we always have some around, just in case.
Oh, fun! I'll show you. In that vein, I have one ingredient that I always have on hand. And I'm gonna tell you it's for my daughter, but you know it's also for me.
Yeah. Oh,
chocolate
yeah.
milk. And I like chocolate milk made with this syrup. It's not fancy, and it always tastes better when someone else makes it for you. Always. When you make your own chocolate milk, it's good. It's not as good as if someone else did it. There's always a bottle of this around.
Okay. Straw or no straw in your chocolate milk?
Straw, dude. Straw. But here, I'll show you. I have, let me just lean back and show you. I have reusable straws. And if you see on the end, it has like a little propeller that you can kind of spin into the chocolate milk to help get the chocolate syrup off the sides of the glass. So you can always
That's awesome. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Keith, this was fun. It was nice answering questions from you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
And thank you everybody for tuning in and watching. I hope you found this helpful, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, bye guys.